The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Yes, hi everyone. Good afternoon. To at least part of you. My name is John Wright. I'm with HEP Development, and I want to extend a huge welcome to everyone. We have a very nice crowd, and I think you're in for a nice treat here with Chris Copley joining us. There are a few sort of administrative details I'd like to go over with you. We do have an extensive series of matching gift webinars, which are all free of charge. And just go to our website, hepdata.com, and go to the Learning Center, and under webinars, you'll find a whole host of webinars to look at, from nonprofits to educational institutions, all given by mostly people in the matching gift coordinator responsibility anyhow for their organizations. If you do get knocked off on either the audio or screen portion, does happen, just call back in or click on the link sent to you via email. We will be recording the session today and have it up on our website, again at hepdata.com in the Learning Center. It does take us a couple of days to get that up, but the webinars are great for training new staff members and or just for current staff who they want to get some ideas, see what other folks are doing. That's a great way to do that. You do have the ability to ask questions. You will see a place on your screen where you can send us to Chris and myself electronically. We'll try to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. So we're very lucky to have Chris Copley with me. I know Chris about 4 or 5 years now when we first met. Chris has served in numerous capacities with many nonprofits, including Director of Fundraising for the Old Colony chapter of Habitat for Humanity. He also served as Director of Leadership Gifts at Bishop Feehan High School, which did about $500,000 over a 5-year period. So I think Chris has a lot to share with you, a lot of good ideas. Without further ado, Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, John. It's my pleasure to speak with everybody today on matching gifts. If we could just go to the next slide there, John, so we can right in.
Yeah. Basically, just to give you an idea that what's happening on matching gift-wise, we add at least several companies per week, about a 5% overall for last year, which is good news. And we've also expanded international companies, which kind of interesting because they have a presence here, hire people here in the States. So we track those UK companies and companies in the Far East as well. And Chris, I'll turn that over to you.
Okay, if we could advance it to the next slide, John, that'd be great.
Is it what is Chris's experience?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
To
give everybody a sense as to my background, I worked at Bishop Feehan High School, which is a small to medium-sized high school in Attleboro, Massachusetts, for about 6 years. Bishop Feehan is just equidistant between Boston and Providence, so you have a sense of the geography on it. And at Bishop Feehan, we had about 5 to 6 people, depending upon the year and so on, working in the advancement group. There was a president, there was myself, an office manager, and a couple other staff people. And we had about 10,000 or less constituents, and we added about 800 a year. I think what I'd like to start off with is giving everybody a perspective on what matching gifts meant to Bishop Feehan over that period, say from 2010 to 2016. Prior to HEP Data helping us out with putting together a program for matching gifts, the only matching gifts we received were just sent in by the donor. We didn't go out and aggressively solicit them because, frankly, we didn't know about it and we didn't know how to do it. So I think the most compelling information that will resonate with everybody is the progression on matching gifts as we started to ramp up. So I met with HEP in the summer of 2010, and in September of 2010 we actually started to ramp up the program. We went from going backwards, 2009 we had $31,000 in matching gifts. In 2010, as we went forward, about 53,000, and then from 2011 to 2016, a little bit over $100,000 a year in matching gifts. So it's important to note that this is not representative of what the donor gave us, the core gift. This was just a match from various companies throughout the United States and Canada. So it clearly has financial benefit, and John and I talk about this a lot. This is found money. This is just a match upon a gift given by a donor. One of the things that we found is that not a lot of people are aware that they work for a matching gift company. So we want to talk a lot about that, and you really need to help them understand that there's a match available. And simply stated, a matching gift is something that is part of someone's benefit package at a particular organization, where the company says, if you donate to a charity, a school or a charity, we, the company, the employer, will match your gift. One of the problems is people switch jobs a lot. So and everybody's doing 2 or 3 jobs. So when you start a new job, you're concerned with not really reading your new employee handbook, right? You're concerned about your salary, healthcare, 401k, but the matching gift information is deeply embedded in the electronic version of your employee handbook. So many people don't know about this. And so your job, if you're going to get access to these matches, is to help educate them that they, in fact, do have the ability to get a matching gift. Next slide, please, John.
Bear with me 1 second
Yep,
here.
sure. Well, John is advancing it. The key thing that you'll find us as we go forward is finding out where people work. You're truly a detective here, right? Finding out where people work, and we'll talk about that a lot as to the methodology for finding out where people work. Everybody involved, president, director of development, has to know who the prospect works for. So if you go to visit somebody, to talk about potentially supporting a charity or your school, you need to know in advance where that person works and bring information on their matching gift program. Everybody in your organization needs to know about this, and we'll talk about steps that you would ideally take to develop a culture of matching within your organization. Okay, John, next slide, please. Getting employer information, right? One of the key pieces to developing a strong matching gift program. I'll tell you what we did, or what we accessed to help us get that information. So at Bishop Fien, we have registration forms. So if a parent wants to have their child apply to the school, we have embedded in the electronic application asking them for their employer name, both the husband and wife. So by doing that, and the reason is we do that is in case of emergency. If something would happen at the school, we want the parents to know what's going on and get in touch with them quickly. So what we do then is we take the information from the registration form when the child actually is enrolled in the school, and we put that into our advancement records. So that's one way we get at finding out where people work. Social media is key, as everybody knows. LinkedIn, Facebook, there are a lot of opportunities to glean employers' employer, asking friends and board members. Just a lot of this talking it up. One of the things that we do at Fien is when we talk with the donor on the phone, depending upon the amount of time the donor may have, we ask them if we could just refresh their records and ask them for their address and where they work. As everybody knows, people change jobs a lot. So we try to refresh the records a lot, and that helps us find out where people work. Hep Data has a nice program where you submit your files to them, and they can juxtapose the files you send them against their records and come back with a maybe 30 to 50% hit rate, which is big. Again, you need to know where people work. That's a huge, huge part of this before you can instruct them to do a match. Next slide, please, John. Small step. A lot of companies match spouses. We had an interesting opportunity at Bishop Fien where a woman who worked for Verizon donated $1,000 to the school. Verizon matches 1-for-1. This woman's husband worked at Fidelity Investments in Boston. They have operations throughout the United States. Fidelity matches 2-for-1. So the $1,000 gift that the wife sent a check in to Bishop Fien for, when coupled with the Fidelity 2-for-1 match and the Verizon 1-for-1 match, was all into Bishop Fien $4,000. So you can see how significant it can be for your charity to have a firm understanding of matching gifts and what you can avail yourself to on that. In terms of retirees, John, I believe it's GE that will match retirees, at least GE that we know, correct?
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. I mean, it's not all of them certainly that'll match retirees, but GE is a good example, yes.
Right, okay. Next slide, please. I mentioned this earlier, awareness, the biggest challenge, finding out where people work. And you want to educate it internally in your group, right? Let everybody know to talk it up, matching gifts. And Bishop Feehan, everybody from the president all the way down was very in tune to helping us find out where people worked. And it's a culture of matching, and I'll mention this probably 20 times, culture of matching. Everybody has to be pulling the boat, have an oar in the boat, and rowing on behalf of matching gifts. And then the other piece is educating donors. This is found money, and is for us, for Feehan to grow from a small amount of money to $100,000 a year or more over the last 4 or 5 years has been significant. So it's clearly, as you look at how you spend your time, it's clearly an area where you can get tremendous return on your time. Next slide, please, John. How you market matching gifts. And the slide says most donors are unaware of employers' matching gift program, and that is absolutely true. And I'll give you a good example. An engineer at Raytheon who had a child at Bishop Feehan made a donation to the school and had been at Raytheon as an engineer in Portsmouth, Rhode Island for 17 years. So I called him and said, you know what, thank you very much for your donation. We appreciate it very much. We'll make sure it's spent wisely within the school. And did you realize that Raytheon will match your gift on a one-for-one basis? He said to me, no, I've been here for 17 years and we don't have a matching gift program, I can tell you that. I said, okay, would you consider reading an email from me that describes what we believe to be the Raytheon matching gift program? So I sent it. He said yes, so I sent it to him. And he called me back the next day and said, I was totally unaware of this. I've been here for a long period of time and was unaware that there's a match. Yes, I'll file a match. And the reason it was good that he now knew that, and people want to do it. People want to file a match because it doubles, in this case, on a one-for-one, it doubles the value of his gift. And it's important to him because he's trying to support his daughter who was at the school, and to the extent that he helps the school out along with the match, he's happy. So you'll find that many people don't realize that their employer will match their gift. And in terms of level of matching, most of them are one-for-one. Fidelity Investments is 2-for-1. There's a company, Chicago Tool and Die, that has divisions in New England that will match, and this is the largest one I've seen, on a 3-for-1 basis. So it's a significant amount of money. We talk about newsletters. We send out success stories, solicitation letters. When we're asking somebody for a donation, we find out where they worked, right, and also let them know that there's a match for that from their employer. And acknowledging a donation, we thank them for it, and we send a link that goes to the HEP data information that describes the match and how they go about requesting a match from their employer. Website eMatch Donor Link, which is what Bishop Feehan uses. We drive our donors to that. Also, we use it ourselves to check when gifts come in to confirm whether or not they work for a matching gift organization. Matching gift month in February, leaflets and certain solicitations where we actually send out a leaflet which shows all the organizations that will match, or the employers that will match gifts for that type of nonprofit. Next slide, please, John. I mentioned the leaflets. So for your school, we, you can pass this out. What we typically did at Feehan is we invited all the parents of incoming freshmen to a night in our auditorium to describe, what the children or the child can expect and what they could expect as they enter the school. And one of the things we did is we asked them for support during that meeting. And we tell them that, when we're a tuition-based company or based school, and that the only other source of income is donations. So we actually pass out this leaflet that lists all the matching gift companies that will match gifts made to a school like Bishop Feehan. And the nonprofit, so whatever charity would be involved, you'd pass out the same leaflet when you have fundraising dinners or fundraising initiatives. Pass this out. And again, this is significant because people donate to your organization, and you have the ability to doubled the value of the gift through instructing them about, excuse me, the benefits of matching gifts. So this is another way of getting knowledge out to the nonprofit, out to the donors. Reminders, very, very important. Be persistent. One of the things that came up is that we learned very quickly. Say someone makes a donation every September, just for the sake of discussion, and you let them know that there's a matching gift opportunity, and they do it, say, in September of 2016 they made a donation. Don't expect when they donate in September of 2017 for them to remember all about the match. People are busy. So you constantly and professionally re-educating people and letting them know about the value of a matching gift. And we talk about being persistent. Absolutely, you have to talk it up, and you have to get everybody to understand the tremendous power and impact that a matching gift will have on your charity, because you're doubling the value of people's gifts. On average, it's a double. It's a 1-for-1, even though Fidelity's 2-for-1. ExxonMobil, I think, is 3-for-1. Chicago Tool and Die is 3-for-1. This significant financial impact. As John mentioned at the top of his introduction, we've received over $500,000 in matching gifts over the last 5 years, which is significant to our school, particularly where we rely just on tuition and donations. That's it. There's no state aid. We're a private Catholic school. Next slide, please, John. As mentioned previously, one of the things you can do through HAP, again, this is under the umbrella of trying to find out where people work. Employer Find is submitting your listing, your database, Razor's Edge, whatever it will be, to HEP Data and have them analyze it and come back with, hey, these people work here. And you get a third to a half of the people will be identified in terms of where they are employed. Next slide, John. We do a lot of, at FEMA, we did a lot of research on who are the largest employers in our area, get on the web, and try to compare that against your listing of people in your database, Razor's Edge, and look at past matching gifts, just to try to educate yourself on matching gifts in general. Next slide, please, John. So this is where the proverbial rubber hits the road. So in this example, Notre Dame Academy, you drive a donor to the, in this case, Notre Dame Academy link, and the person would type in the name of their company. You see that rectangular box in the middle of the, thanks, John, in the middle of the document? So you type in your name. So assume this person worked for General Electric, and they weren't sure whether or not their recent donation would be matched by General Electric. So after that person types it in, it says, yes, GE is match eligible. And this is the key slide. This gives all the detail to the donor about GE. The key thing is the matching gift form URL, which is, thank you, which is about, 1, 2, 3, John has the arrow on it. So the donor would click on that, and that would give the donor instructions on how to request the match from GE. Probably half of them are done electronically and half are done via paper form, but that's really key. And in GE's case, this is where it really gets substantial for your charity. If you look down there, the minimum match is $25. The max they'll match is $25,000 on a 1-for-1 ratio. So you can see the impact that would have on your overall donation trajectory by getting a match. Next slide, please, John.
Yeah, I think I'll take this one.
Okay.
You notice the format for the e-match with the previous slide there from the school. This is just another variation of it. You can type in the employer name. You can type it in anywhere on a web page. We call it an iframe. And so you can design your own pages and, basically put the results coming out are exactly the same, though. GE, if you typed it in, it'd be matches 1-to-1, 25,000. Everything's the same. It just allows you a little flexibility where to put it on a page and how you design your page with some instructions if you'd like. So, okay, Chris, back to you.
So here is a great opportunity for everybody here, and that is looking back at last year's donation. So as I mentioned, we started with the eMatch donor link in September of 2010. And we didn't know a lot about matching, but we learned a lot, and we learned very quickly. So one of the things we learned is many employers will allow you to go back for up to a year and request a match. So we feverishly went back through all of our donations through January of 2010, and actually back to October of 2009, and took a look at all the donations that were made, went back to our eMatch donor link and listed the companies in there and found out which of those donations were matchable. And then we went back to the donor and said, hey, we just found out that your gift is matchable. So it was a huge incremental improvement in financial status of the school because we were getting all these matches for gifts that were made in the past. So it was huge for us. So let's assume for a moment you decide to subscribe to HepData's eMatch donor link. That would be the first thing I suggest you do. Go back to every donation over the previous 12 months, figure out which one of these donations will be matched by the employers, and then get an email out immediately and call that donor right away and let them know about it. Again, people want to do this. They want to support their school or their charity, right? One of the things that comes to mind, and I think I mentioned this before, John, I think you concur, that you have to be easy to do business with. And what does that mean? People nowadays are busy, right? With all the layoffs, some people are doing 2 or 3 jobs. So when you write an email or explain a potential opportunity for a match, you have to have a clear understanding of everything that surrounds that so you can communicate it clearly. The emails you send out have to be very clear about it because to the extent that you are easy to do business with, the person on the receiving end of the email will quickly process it and do it. But if they're confused and you're not clear in your correspondence or your conversation with them, they'll put it to the side and maybe never get to it. So it's very important that you be very easy to do business with because people are busy. John, I don't know if you had any other comments on that.
No, it's just a great first thing to do. It's a good source of free money and good use of your time. So.
All right, next slide, please. Could we go back one, John, to matching gift tips and techniques? There it is.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. So whenever we go out on a call to visit a donor, say at work, we would already do the research to find out if the company they work for matched the gift that they would make. And so we would give them all the information about it, and honestly, probably 90% of the time, they were unaware of the fact that should they make a donation to Bishop Feehan, that their employer would match it. And again, a 1-for-1 match is big, but if you get some 2-for-1s, it's really, really substantial. So again, we talk about last year's gift, make sure that they're all matched as well. Next slide, please. Here's the beauty of this. Matching gifts, they keep coming year after year, right? It never ends. Every time someone makes a donation, works for a matching gift company, you can ask them to request a match from their employer. So it's huge. And we constantly go back to our existing base to determine if there's any gifts that were made that were not matched, because that's really found money. It's quote-unquote free money. So we spend a lot of time on that because, again, we received over $500,000 in matching gifts over 5 years. And we wouldn't, had we not done this with HEP, we wouldn't know about it. We simply wouldn't be aware of the technology that they offer to help you get matching gifts. Next slide, please. The eMatch donor link cost depends on the size of the database. John, maybe you can just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you can get started depending on the size. If you're a real small nonprofit, we're talking about hundreds of dollars to get started. If you're, obviously a large nonprofit, it costs a lot more, but it's based on the size of your constituency. But you can get started for, $300 here and pretty inexpensively. Right.
So there's the cost of the donor link. There's the leaflets, right, that you would pass out at a fundraising initiative. And the beauty of this is one match will pay for it. So for us, I went to the president said, I think it was, John, I think based on ours, it was maybe $600 was the, at the time, eMatch subscription link. And given the opportunity that ultimately happened, which was averaging almost $100,000 over the last 5 years, it was a great investment. It would be crazy for us not to have done it. And then you also the employer find, which is a separate thing that can help you find out where people work, which is key. That's where it all starts.
Right.
Next slide, please, John.
Sure.
John, you can go over that, I think, right?
Yeah, sure. These are a couple of resources that I would suggest you take a look at. In our Learning Center, I mentioned we have webinars there. I'd certainly take a look at those. We have a blog which comes out every 2 weeks. A lot of good ideas there, and we're working with lots of nonprofits to put the blogs together. That our customers got all the great ideas, and we try to put them in blogs and get them out to everybody. So we also have a little brochure. It's called 16 Steps to Matching Gifts Success, and we'll try to get that to you. I'll send you a link in the email.
John,
so
do you have that as part of this? John, is that in the next slide? I'm sorry. Maybe I'm confused.
Yeah, actually, we do have it there. Yeah. I think Chris wanted to go over it with you.
Yeah, if I could comment just on that. I'm not going to go over every single one, but number 3 is creating awareness. And that really, early on in the program, is what you do. Reminders about matching gift potential, embedding the link to the website in correspondence with your donors and prospective donors. Number 3 is really big. If we go down a little bit, number 8, just sending out reminders, just gently sending out reminders about that they're eligible for a matching gift based upon the employer. But 12 is a big one. I mentioned this before. Create a culture for matching gifts throughout the organization. We try to always talk it up because of the value it can provide to your school and nonprofit. For us, our annual fund has typically been about $1 million. That's been our goal. And for the last 5 years, averaging about $100,000 a year, the matching gifts itself is 20% of our annual fund, $100,000 a year versus a goal of $500. So it's been huge. So, you have to pick your spots as to where you spend your time, and everybody's busy. But this truly is free money or found money or incremental improvement in your incoming revenue trajectory or incoming donation trajectory. So it's clearly something to look at because it can be very valuable. Money is hard to come by, right? Donations are hard to come by, and this is clearly something that I'll include in your strategy for getting a better incoming trajectory in 2017. I would certainly at least talk to John Wright and evaluate whether or not it will fit for you, but it certainly worked for us, and I can comment on other schools in our diocese who have done so, and in the greater Boston and New England area. And the success stories are pretty significant. Almost every well-run organization that I get to know and get familiar with is doing this. So you want to make sure that you think strongly about doing it as well. Next slide, John. Any questions? Any questions, John, that we should talk about?
Yeah, I got. If you have any questions for Chris or myself, please send them in electronically. We've got a few here. So we had one from Kim about some handouts. The 16 steps of. We will get that to you. A link to that to everybody who's registered. And there's a couple other questions.
John, can I comment on the 16 steps?
Sure.
If everybody listening does nothing else but print out that 16-step brochure and talk to John about what to do, I think you get tremendous value out of it. Those are what I like is rubber hit the road suggestions on how to create and sustain and perpetuate a matching gift program. I had those hanging on my billboard at the school and looking at it all the time because it's some great tips, and it's really a function of a lot of years of people's experience who have done matching gifts all consolidated onto that 16-point brochure. So that would be terrific for you guys to take a look at.
Yeah, there's some good questions coming in from Michael. What are some incentives for donors to seek out matching gifts, tax deductions, etc.? I think the biggest incentive, Michael, is that you're making your donors feel more philanthropic. Some people put them into donor clubs, and they will count the matching gifts as to get into the special bronze club or donation clubs that a lot of nonprofits have.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. So. Yeah, another question here from Norm. their matching gift companies obviously have different policies. Not all companies gift all nonprofits or schools. Some like Exxon will give to higher ed as an example, but they, don't match 3-to-1 to other kinds of nonprofits. Some will match to a church. A lot will match to. A lot won't match to churches, but some will match to seminaries. Some will match to food for hunger programs and stuff like that. So the policies change a lot. We have a staff, 3.5 people. That's all they do is try to keep up with these policy changes. And you'll see that we put a date on our data when we update it, but we get our information. We work with a lot of the nonprofits who call us up and say, "Hey, did you see that J.P. Morgan or Johnson & Johnson are changed their program a little bit?" And some we do add 1 or 2 or new ones every week. So it's but there's lots of changes that goes on, and so that's why keeping the data current is something we do a lot of. Yeah.
If I could add to that, John.
Sure. Every
company is different in terms of what type of charity or nonprofit or 501c3 they'll match for. Every company is different. Some may match 0.5 to 1, 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 3 to 1. So that's different. Companies have different policies on the amount of time that can elapse from the date of the original donation from the donor to the time of the application for the request for the match can be submitted. Most of the time it's a year, but there are some that are as short as 3 months or 6 months. So really one of the things that is key for you as a nonprofit is to react quickly. Once you get the donation, determine whether or not it's matchable and then immediately start activities to get it matched. One of the things to keep in mind too is each company that we've found has a budget for matching gift dollars. So they have maybe $1 million, depending upon the size of the company, $1 million in a pot or $500,000. And once they send out or distribute that budget, they won't match until the following year again. So speed is really important to get your matching gift process going so money can come into your school, to your church, or your charity as soon as possible. But I think that's the thing to keep in mind is that every organization is different in terms of their policies. You just need to get a good understanding of what their policies are so you can clearly and with no ambiguity communicate that to your donor.
Right. Rose has got a couple of comments here. She says that many companies reduced or suspended their matches during the recession. Are you finding that these are coming back to previous levels? Rose, I could speak for the number of companies that have programs. Certainly, companies suspend their programs. Some come back, 6 months later, and some do not continue with them as a result of the crisis. But what we find is that a lot of other companies, I mentioned, we had an increase of 5%, are adopting programs, and then you find companies merge. Well, the number of employees is increased by the merger, but the number of companies goes down a little bit. So while there is some people who are stopping matching, I don't think it's a trend, and I think it's with the 5% increase that we've been seeing for the last few years, I think it's pretty much back to where it was. But if you're in a town with one big employer, and they suspend the program, that can hurt for sure. So
I think, John, in general, overall, there are some that have suspended theirs or made them a little bit less rich, right? Instead of a 2-for-1, maybe they go to 1-for-1. But in general, my experience and what I've seen over the last 5 years or so is that there's a lot of opportunity out there to get matching gift money. There's tremendous opportunity, and it's important to at least think about availing yourself to it because it can be substantial in terms of contributing to the financial health of your charity or your school.
Right. Another point here raised by Rose is that some companies require receipts mailed and others don't. We try to put that information into the company information policy into our database. So if they have some specific requirements, on a company by company basis, we put those in into the data, so you can look it up online. And as Chris was saying, they used it a lot. The data from eMatch, and they used a lot of that internally, as well as for donors and prospects. So let's see, we got a couple more questions here. Let's see. Cynthia is saying, I have found people don't know how to file for a matching gift, and despite good intentions, the process stops because they don't pursue it. Do your links take them right to their company's form and
absolutely,
to the contact person?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the links are great, and it shows them how to go about doing it in very, very granular detail. How you go about requesting the match. I think that's the beauty of the HAP eMatch donor link. All the detail is there. So I've had very few matching gift opportunities go by the wayside because of lack of understanding of how to go about requesting the match. So the HAP program will help you a lot with that, Cynthia.
Yeah, another question here is, what do I do when I have a company I think matches, but I can't find them in the matching gift database? Well, we have the staff that I mentioned to you that loves getting calls to try to find new companies that should be in our database. One thing to remember, that only if you have a nonprofit, only companies that match to that type of nonprofit, let's say it's a museum, will show up. So Exxon wouldn't show up in that example because they may not match to that type of nonprofit. So just keep that in mind as well. But certainly the thing is, if you have a company you think it should be matching, or your donor believes it's matching, they have a matching program, certainly call us. We'd love to do the research for you, and we do it all the time for cancers and habitats, etc. Red Crosses, you name it, we're doing research, and we love to have companies to check out. So everybody benefits because it lined up on the database, and it works for everybody all the way around. So one of the questions that I get asked frequently is, what is the participation rate of employees, say at a GE, for example? Well, if you were in, I think they're in Binghamton, New York, if I'm not mistaken, but it's less than 15% of the employees participate in the matching gift program. So that means that there's a lot of people who could take advantage of it if you were a nonprofit in Binghamton, New York, or co-located with a major nonprofit or major matching gift company, so to speak. So I think let's see if I got one more question here. Let's see. I think we've covered them all. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody. We certainly appreciate your coming today, and we'll be sending out that brochure, 16 Steps to Matching Gift Success. So look for that link in your email. And I do again want to thank everybody for coming today. We really appreciate it. Thank you,
Chris, very much, Tom.
Yeah,
I
thank
really
you.
enjoyed this. Thank you.
Yes. Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day, everybody. Bye.